Hello and welcome to the first science lesson of this half term. So our new science topic this half term is living things and their habitat. We're going to start with a zoom in, zoom out activity. So what do you think this is? I'm going to click through the next few slides, and at what point do you work out what it is? How do you know? And what knowledge do you have to help you? Feel free to make notes as you go, and you can see how they change as we move through the slides. So from this picture, have a guess at what you think it is. Could it be a fish, a snake? How do you know? Are your ideas changing? What about now? Mine changed here. Okay, so this is a vampire bat. This is a preserved one from the Natural History Museum. So they are native to countries in South America, and as their name suggests, their sole food source is the blood of other animals, ranging from cattle to birds. Their saliva contains anticoagulants to stop their prey's blood from clotting, which allows them to feed for longer. While bats are the only mammals that truly fly rather than glide, vampire bats are one of the few bats that can still walk and jump on land. I have to admit, at this point, I thought it was a pig, so I was wrong. Okay, so today, as a scientist, can I classify animals? So I've got 3 short videos for us to watch just to remind us about classification, vertebrate and invertebrate. This is a bit of a revision lesson because I'm aware that you will have covered some of this before, but it was probably quite a few years ago and we haven't had a chance just to check that prior learning in class. So I just want to make sure that you're all confident with it. Okay.
Planet Earth is quite an amazing place because it's full of life. From creatures that are so small we can't even see them, to creatures that are so huge they could squash our whole house. Each different type of animal is called a species, and all species are related to each other. It's like a very strange sort of family. It's also a very confusing family because there are millions of species on Earth. How can we work out who's related? That's what classification is all about. It allows us to put all different species in groups and work out in what way they're related to each other based on similar features. For instance, a dog and a lion. Are they closely related? They're different, but not that different. They've both got the same sort of body shape, and each has fur and feeds milk to their young. They both belong to the group called mammals. What about a duck and a fly? Are they closely related? They both have wings, they both lay eggs, but they aren't the same things. The fly has 6 legs, the duck has 2. Ducks have feathers, flies don't. They don't belong to the same group.
Okay. Now let's see what is a vertebrate.
This is Blob. Blob can't do much, like lift his own head. He doesn't even have a head. If Blob had been born with a spine or backbone, he would have been a vertebrate. If we give Blob some legs and a head, then he can start to move about. There are lots of vertebrates in the animal kingdom. They include dogs, lions, ducks, frogs, and of course, you.
Okay, and finally, what is an invertebrate?
Meet Blob. He is an invertebrate. This means that he has no backbone or spinal column. Blob is a very simple invertebrate, just like worms or jellyfish. Over 96% of all the animal species on Earth are invertebrate. They can be tiny, like an insect, or huge, like the giant squid.
I have to admit, I didn't know that 96% of the world's animals are invertebrate. That was new for me. Okay, so let's have a look at today's learning. Hopefully that revision will have helped you. If not, if you need to watch it again, feel free to rewind or click into the PowerPoint in the assignment and you can watch these in your own time, pausing as you need to. Okay. So there are 5 different ways that we can classify animals. Mammals. How can we tell if an animal is a mammal? Hopefully you will have some idea from the videos we showed, and also you will hopefully have some knowledge from before, from your learning in earlier years. So they give birth to live young. That means that their young come out alive and not in an egg or anything like that. They just come out as they are. They have hair or fur, and mammal mothers feed the children with their own milk, or can feed their children with their own milk. They are warm-blooded. So humans are mammals because we are warm-blooded. We are covered in hair. You might not be able to see it everywhere, but we are covered in hair. And we have live young, and mothers can feed their children with their own milk. Then we have reptiles. And how can we tell if an animal is a reptile? They have scales, not fur. They have dry skin. They usually lay eggs, so that's different from the mammal who lays live young, or has live young, not lays. They're cold-blooded. Then we have birds. How can we tell if an animal is a bird? They have feathers and wings. They don't necessarily fly, but they have wings. They lay eggs, similar to the reptile, so there's a similarity there. They are warm-blooded, so that's different, isn't it? Amphibians. How do we know if an animal is an amphibian? They live on land and water. They are cold-blooded. They lay eggs, so another species that lays eggs, another animal group rather. They have moist skin and webbed feet. So the moist skin is different from the reptiles who have dry skin. Fish. How do we know if an animal is a fish? They breathe underwater using gills. They have scales and fins. They lay eggs. They are cold-blooded. So, how do scientists classify creatures? So scientists organise living things into groups based on what they look like and how similar their DNA is. So classification on observation alone is possible, but DNA can help if species look similar to each other. All living things have DNA, and every species has different DNA. In 1999, for example, it was discovered that there are 2 species of pipistrelle bat, the common and the soprano, which you can see here. These were first distinguished on the different frequency echolocation on calls. So the soprano hits, as you can tell from the name soprano, which is the name given to an opera singer who sings the high notes, works on a higher frequency. DNA tests then confirmed that they were 2 separate species. So until 1999, it was believed that these were the same bat, and then it was discovered that they aren't. So we can also use DNA to help us to decide which is the closest living relative. So here we have a rock hyrax. Do you think it's most closely related to a marmot or an elephant? So if we were to go on observation alone, I think I would say marmot. I mean, it looks most like a marmot. However, the answer is actually the elephant, which seems rather odd. Hyraxes, elephants, and dugongs, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, that's a sea cow, all evolved from a single common ancestor millions of years ago. They share features with elephants, so apparently they have tusks. They're very little, but they've got tusks. They have flattened nails on the tips of their toes and similar skull structure. And if you were to compare the DNA, it shows that they are very closely related. So although the rock hyrax looks more like a marmot, it's actually more closely related to an elephant. Okay, so using classification keys, this is what we're going to be doing today. Classification keys allow us to ask a series of questions about an organism to help us identify the species we're looking at. So we always start with the first question and work our way through. The answer is always yes or no, because this is a dichotomous key. Again, not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So all of the answers will be either yes or no. So let's start with the top left here. So we know that it says that it's European robin, but we're going to use the classification to check. So we go to the first question, does it have feathers? Yes, it does. So we can go straight and say it's the European robin. If we go down to the picture underneath that, we can say, does it have feathers? No. Does it have fur? Yes, which means we're going down. So we've got, does it have feathers? No. Does it have fur? Yes. Does it have grey fur? Yes, it's the grey squirrel. So they've made a mistake there. It's not a brown squirrel, it's a grey squirrel. Okay, so then we can do the same here with this one. Does it have feathers? No. Does it have fur? Yes. Does it have grey fur? No, it doesn't. We can see that here. So it's the red squirrel. And here at the bottom, does it have feathers? No. Does it have fur? No. We know that the fish has scales, so it's a brown trout. Okay, so you have a task for me today. You should have a resource sheet. You don't have to print it in colour, but you feel free to do so if you like. I would like you to cut out each of the little pictures of the creatures that you've got, and you're going to stick them onto this classification key. So you should have in it, you should have 2 pages, one with the pictures and one with this classification key. So start at the top with, is it a vertebrate? Has it got a backbone? And then work your way down the yes and no's. My suggestion would be that you lay all of them on before you stick them, because if you make a mistake, you can't undo it if it's stuck. If you lay them all on, then if you have made a mistake, you can shuffle them about a bit. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I will go to the next slide in a moment, which will give you the answers. So I'd like you to pause here if you haven't completed that activity yet. There is your answers. Okay, I hope you got on well, and I look forward to seeing what you upload.